Welcome to Agents of the Crown. Many of our agents came here seeking an audience with the nobility. However, some dastardly impostors have snuck their way into our midst. This might be a bit of a delicate operation, so refrain from rushing yourself. Press the button in the upper right corner to pause or unpause the action as needed. Now then, click on one of the ground agents to read their information on the lower left display. We can see a variety of information on their comings and goings. Pay attention to that packet data. Look for anything suspicious. Now see that raging wall of flame in the middle of the path? That's an appropriately named firewall. Only us observer agents can actually see them, but they'll give anyone a mean burn under the right conditions. We need to configure it to torch any malcontents in that crowd. The console at the bottom of the screen is every agent's best friend. Open it by clicking on the skull's eyes. While it's open, type IP access-list standard 1 to start configuring that firewall. Now check those walkers for suspicious materials again. When you find a suspect, type deny in the console followed by their source IP. You can see any commands you've issued on a firewall by typing show access-list and the number of the firewall, in this case 1. Hopefully that firewall roasts the right guy. Remember, agent, any wrongful incinerations will result in a penalty. If you need to review the commands available on the console, click the question mark button near the top right. You can place additional firewalls by pressing the Tab key to summon one, and the Tab key again on a valid tile to set it down. If a saboteur happens to get past the last gatekeeper, they'll show their true colors, and the subsequent events will be out of our hands. A failure to contain a threat also carries a penalty, so stay vigilant and make sure you do the job right. That's all for now, Agent. Good luck.
Alright, so we're going to start off by looking at level 3, which we have loaded here. Alright, so once again we have packets that load into the scene. In the scene they're coming from 2 different directions, which we could tell by how the camera was first positioned. So we're going to lay a firewall down and then access that firewall using IP access list extended 1. Extended firewalls allow the player to block packets beyond just by their source IP, and they can also use destination IP, source port, all that other good data that's in there. So in this case, we can tell by that packet data we shall fight at dawn that it's a bad packet and that we want to stop it from coming through. So what we did here is we denied it based on its source IP, and then we looked just to make sure that it was on the ACL. Right. Similar thing with this packet, we can see, and they call themselves agents, a little sarcastic, so likely a bad packet. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. Once again, we'll access that firewall, we'll type in the deny command, and then we'll tell it the IP that it needs to deny for us. Right. So we can see that was inserted correctly. Right, so we're watching our packets disappear, which is a good sign that we have that firewall correctly configured on that side. So now we're going to turn over here. As the waves respond, they are staggered when it's known that the player will not be able to see both sides at the same time. So as you notice, these packets are a little bit further behind than those on the other side, since we didn't have an opportunity to configure firewalls here yet. So we picked up another bad packet, so we're going to go ahead and get into it and configure that firewall. We found that packet and we'll deny it by that source IP. So if you notice, this source IP is actually the same one we configured on the other wall, but because it's being loaded into a different area of the scene and going towards a different end location, we want to reconfigure it and make sure that that same IP is blocked on all the firewalls. Right. Right. So if you notice in the scene in the background, you can see that there's a little arrow indicator that's telling us what the end destination for that source, for that packet rather, is. So as they move throughout the map, we can click any one of the packets and it'll tell us their next stop. So here we can see that packet was going to the router at the top of the screen. And so that kind of gives us an idea of like, okay, I need to worry about him going through here. So when he comes through here, where do I need to watch him next? And that indicator will live update to tell the player where they need to turn their attention next. Alright, so now we can track the last of the packets that we have remaining in the scene and make sure that none of them are going to cause any harm. In these earlier levels, the packet data is a really good indication for the player of whether or not they need to be worried about a packet. However, they can back that up by double checking that the application protocols are secure or non-secure, and also kind of reviewing the information as a whole based on where the packets are going and if they transition from their agent forms into their enemy forms. Right, so now we're going to turn our attention over to level 7. Right, so in level 7, starting at level 5 through level 10, you'll notice that the packet data is now a very much larger string of data. So in this string, there are 254 characters, some of which are letters and some are numbers. While good packets, all of the data will be randomized. In bad packets, there will be certain keywords that will tell the player that they need to pay attention to that packet. In this case, the keyword is heartbleed. So this is actually a security bug that was widely used in the implementation of the Transport Layer Security, or TLS, protocol. This is something that our players will be familiar with, and so therefore it will kind of alert to them, hey, this is something not effective for my playthrough. Right, so what we're going to do, instead of just deleting this packet, we're going to put an alert on it. So this alert command uses the destination IP, the destination port, the source, the source IP and the source port as well. So all that information is provided into the console, as well as that keyword that is contained within that string of data. Right, so we can see that our firewall was activated, and we also see that the packet coming through there now has an indication on it that lets us know that we have alerted it. We now know that we need to keep an eye on that packet as it moves throughout the level, so that lets us keep track a little bit better of where it's going. Now, after spending some time watching it move through the level, we would be able to then explicitly deny it from the firewall. This is called a drop command, so we're going to drop it from the firewall and it will no longer allow it through. Once again, we're going to enter that same information, so it is denying it based on the source IP, the source port, the destination IP, and the destination port, as well as that keyword heartbleed. Right, so with that entered, our firewall should now be able to destroy that packet, right, preventing it from reaching any of our friendly agents. Right, so that's where we're going to end this. That's the majority of our commands that were presented here. So thanks for watching.